Hey there everyone, welcome to Saurabh's classes. So in this video, we are going to discuss about the determinants of growth as entailed in the endogenous growth model. So in front of you is a question that says, what are the major determinants of growth as entailed in the endogenous growth model? So let us discuss about it one by one. So as we know that this endogenous growth model comes after the solo growth model, that is the exogenous model, right? So according to the solo growth model, we know that solo's assumptions included that technological progress is given exogenously. But that was the drawback of solo growth model, which was improvised in the given model of the technological progress is endogenously given and determined, and hence the endogenous growth model was given. So the endogenous growth model is a theoretical framework that seeks to explain the determinants of long-run economic growth. So unlike the traditional growth models, which assume that technological progress is exogenous, as I told you, that traditional growth model, it means we are talking about the solos model. So where technological progress was exogenously driven, and it was said that there are external factors that drive the growth. But in the endogenous growth model, it suggested that the technological progress is endogenous and driven by internal factors, right? For example, if you're investing in research and R&D expenditures, so obviously due to innovation, there will be technical progress, and that will lead to your growth in output and hence economic growth. So this is something which is within the system and not necessarily by due to the external system. So this was one of the thing. Now let us discuss the major determinants of growth in the endogenous growth model, right? So number one is about human capital. Okay, so first of all, whereby technological progress according to the solo growth model, actually that has been discussed, is in solo growth model only the physical capital was discussed. Now capital can be of two types, right? Physical capital and human capital. Physical capital means we are talking about machines, right? Then land, etc., right? And when I'm talking about human capital, that means investment in education, investment in training skills, so that skilled labor is found and there is human development, right? Human, that is human capital. So according to this theory, it is said that it is not only the physical capital but also investment in human capital is one of the important way of economic growth. So that is investment in human capital such as education and training can increase the productivity of workers and lead to higher level of economic growth, right? So that is our first point. So this is the first point, that is the human capital. So investment in human capital such as what? See, education, training can increase productivity of workers and lead to higher levels of economic growth. So workers with higher levels of education and training are what? More productive. So if you have more skilled laborers and they are more productive, then obviously more output per worker can be produced. So overall economic growth can be achieved. Second is regarding the research and development. Okay, so investment in research and development can lead to creation of new technologies, right? Advancement on technology. So the more advanced technologies you will use in production, then in less time you will be able to produce more. So that means capital per unit or output per unit of capital will be produced more, and then again it will lead to economic growth. So that is the reason that here one of the other factor of this is what? Research and development. So investment in research and development can lead to the creation of new technologies and innovations, right? That can drive economic growth. Now research and development can also lead to improvement in existing technologies. Okay, it's not only about inventing new thing but also bringing some new features and adding some advancement to the already existing machines, so that they can be used more effectively and efficiently. So this is the second point. Third one is about knowledge spillovers, right? So what is knowledge spillovers? Now knowledge spillovers means basically from one farm to other it spreads. Okay, so like if you are gaining the knowledge, that can spread You can preach knowledge. So knowledge spillovers occur when knowledge generated by one firm in the industry is transferred to another firm or industry. So this can occur through the movement of workers between firms, for example, shifting jobs, migration, etc. Right? So this leads to what? Diffusion of the knowledge, right? Publication, for example, conferences, right? Seminars, etc. So these are the ways of, let's say, preaching the knowledge to the others, distributing the knowledge to the others, so that people can become skilled, know about more things, and can use it efficiently. So this is called the knowledge spillover. So the third point here is about the knowledge spillover, right? So knowledge spillover is basically occur when knowledge generated by one firm or industry is transferred to another firm or industry. Now this can occur through the movement of workers between firms, diffusion of knowledge through publications or conferences, or collaboration between the firms. The knowledge spillovers can lead to creation of new technologies and innovations that can derive economic growth. So this is what we mean by knowledge spillovers. Next and very important point is the fourth point, that is our economies of scale. Now, what are economies of scale? So first of all, we need to understand by economies of scale, we mean when there is increasing returns to scale. So what are returns to scale? Basically, in production, there are three types of returns to scale in the long run. So that is our constant returns to scale, increasing returns to scale, and decreasing returns to scale. So now when input is changed by a certain proportion, in return, we have to see what happens to the proportion of output. So if the proportion of input is equals to proportion of output change, then it is constant return. If the proportion of output in return is more than you have invested in input, then it is increasing returns, and it is a cost advantageous situation for a firm. And lastly, if whatever you are investing, your return in is basically less than that, then it is not advantageous, and it is called your decreasing returns to scale. So economies of scale is actually a firm's cost advantageous situation where it experiences increasing returns to scale. It means if you invest more in input, in return your output, you will gain more, right? So your average cost of production is falling. So more you can produce, and it will lead to more economic growth. So let us see what it is about. So economies of scale occurs when firm can produce more output at a lower cost per unit. As I told you that the average cost is falling in this type of situation, okay, as it increases its scale of production. So this can lead to power prices and higher output, so which can increase overall economic growth. Now moving on to the fifth point, the last determinant, right? So that is about entrepreneurship. Now entrepreneurship involves the creation of new business like startups, etc. The more you will expand your business, the more you will be able to create new jobs, as a result income, demand, purchasing power, and hence production, right? So entrepreneurship involves the creation of new businesses, products, and services which can derive economic growth. Now, entrepreneurs create new jobs, introduce new technologies and innovations, and drive competition in existing markets, which can lead to higher level of productivity and economic growth. Right? So, let us conclude this. So our discussion can be concluded by the following points. So in conclusion, the endogenous growth model suggests that investment in human capital, right, research and development, knowledge spillovers, economies of scale, and entrepreneurship are the major determinants of long-run economic growth. So policymakers can use this model to develop policies that promote investment in these areas and foster long-term economic growth. So that's all for this answer.